All right, so law of cosines. All right, first let's write down the law. All right, the law is c squared equals, it's very similar to the Pythagorean theorem, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. That's the first part. So it's literally the Pythagorean theorem is the first part of the formula. Okay, right, Hasibullah? Hey, you made it into my video because you're on your phone. All right, so anyways, the next part, does anybody know the next part? 2ab, or times a times b, and that's called the law of cosines because you're multiplying cosine. Cosine of what? C. Now you can arrange this formula depending on what you're looking for. What you're looking for is here. Whatever you're looking for, if I'm looking for the side, that goes here. Side you're looking for. So if I'm actually looking for, let's say A, I would put A here. Say, for example, if I put A squared here, then it would be B squared plus C squared minus 2, not times AB this time. Basically, whatever you're not looking for will go here. So now this would be B times C. And then it would still be cosine, but notice that the cosine over here, these match. So the angle that you plug into cosine here is the opposite angle of the side you're looking for. So here, what would I put? Cosine of what? Right, big A. Okay, so basically, make sure that the matching, or the side that's across from that side, or the angle that's across from their side is the matching here. And then your other two sides will go here. B squared plus C squared, and then B times C. So you basically have to rearrange this formula to fit what you need. Now, these are not ABC triangles, so we'll have to set it up based on what letters we're given. All right. So it says find each measurement indicated. And again, we want to think about what's available to us, because with law of sines, what I had was a side and then another angle that was the opposite, like a side that was across from the angle. Okay. And then I was able to do the same, finding another angle side pair. So basically, in order to do law of sines, I need a side and angle across from each other, and another side and angle across from each other. Okay, same thing for the angle. I had to do a side and an angle across, side and angle across. Okay. Law of cosine is basically allows you to find it a missing side or angle when you don't have that. What you need is an angle in the middle of two sides. This is very similar when you had to find the area and you had an angle in between two sides. We use the law of, or not the, we use the sine formula. So basically for law of cosine, there needs to be an angle and two sides right beside them. Okay. All right. So what we're looking for is HK. So we're looking for this side, which we can call little p. So whatever you're looking for, that's what you start with. So p squared goes on this side. Okay, if p squared goes here, what do you think I would put over here? H squared plus, what's the other side? K squared. Okay, so then minus 2 times h times k times the cosine of, what would go here? All right, the angle p. Okay, because again, it's the one that's across from it. So now let's plug it in. So now p squared equals h squared, which is, what is h? Here's h. It goes straight across, 27. And I square it. And then the k is 19. So that's straight across. Basically, it's the two sides. Okay, so then 2 times those same sides. And by the way, when you're looking for the side, you can just plug this in, and then we can set it up in the calculator. So 2 times both those sides, then times the cosine of the angle that's across from the side you're looking for. All right, and anytime you have a variable that's squared, what do you do to solve that? use square root. So all I'm going to do, instead of simplifying all of this, I'm just going to square root the whole thing and plug all of this into the calculator. Now, again, you could simplify this. You could do 27 squared plus 19 squared, then multiply these, okay, and that's fine. But as long as I'm just looking for a side, I don't have to do all that. I can just plug all that in. So now, I'm just going to set up my calculator. Square root 27 squared plus 19 squared minus 2 times 27. And make sure it's all under the square root as you type it. And just type it exactly how it's written. Okay, and then times cosine of 135. Oh, I got to make sure I'm not in degrees, so I got to go back to mode and change that. But you guys shouldn't have that issue. And if you're ever not sure, there's a reset button down here too. Like if you just to reset everything, you just click the green button and reset. Okay, so then I got 42 point, let's see, what are we around to? This 10th, so 42.6. So that is the missing side. So P equals, or is approximately 42.6 miles. Okay, so that's the case if I'm looking for a side. Okay, so this will probably be the most intense one, is looking for an angle. Okay, so it does take just a few more steps because I can't just plug it in and then square root. Okay, I actually got to get this. I got to get this angle by itself. I got to isolate it, which means I'm going to have to do like the inverse cosine. Okay, but to get inverse cosine, I have to basically get rid of all these terms to the side. Okay, so if I'm looking for angle Q, when I set this up, I set up the side that's across from Q. So basically, it's going to still be Q squared. And just a reminder, anytime you see M with that little symbol, that means angle. So find the measure of angle Q. That's what that means. So I do the side that's opposite the angle I'm looking for first, just like I did before. Then it'll be P squared plus R squared minus 2 times P times R times the cosine of the angle across from that. So Q. So now I'm going to plug in everything I know. I know this one. It's 11. So 11 squared. I know P. Basically, I know all the sides. So that's 16. The only thing I don't know is this angle. Okay, and then 17 here, minus 2 times 16 times 17 times cosine of Q. That's the only thing I don't know. Okay, now when you look for an angle, you do got to simplify. So we got to kind of work through the steps here. Okay, so first thing, 11 squared. Does anybody know what that is? 121. Anybody know the other two? I don't know. Let's see, 16 squared, 256. And actually, matter of fact, I'm going to kind of do both 16 squared plus 17 squared just to save ourselves some steps. So I did 16 squared plus 17 squared. So I'm actually going to write that instead of 256. Okay, so that's 545. Okay. Then I got 2 times 16 times 17. So 2 times 16 times 17. So that's 544. So basically it's 5 or minus 544 still times cosine of Q. All right, here's a common mistake. You get to this step and you subtract these two numbers. You cannot subtract 545 minus 544 because right now that 544 is being multiplied times the cosine. So it's kind of locked up. Okay. What I can do is start getting everything by itself. I can take away the 545. So I subtract that from both sides. Okay, so 121 minus 545, that's negative 424. Okay, then that is equal to what I have left, the negative 544 times cosine of Q. In order to get rid of this negative 544. Since it's being multiplied, I have to divide, yes. So I divide it to both sides. And this helps me cancel out that negative. And pretty much every time you do this step, you should be dividing two negatives. If you're not dividing two negatives, something's wrong. If you end up with a negative, something's wrong. You shouldn't end up with a positive on this step. Okay? All right, so now what I'll do is I'm going to keep that as is. So I'm not going to change it. So the next would look like 424 over 544 equals cosine of q. Okay, and then to find cosine of an angle, what do I have to do when I'm looking for an angle? Inverse. I got to do the inverse. So I got to switch it. And now I'm doing the inverse of this, whatever this is, the negative 424 divided by 544 equals q. Okay, so out of this chapter, as you can see, this is probably the most lengthy problem that you'll deal with when you're looking for that missing angle, basically. When you're looking for the missing angle using law of cosines. Okay, so negative 424 divided by negative 554, I get 38.8. So angle Q is equal to 38.8 degrees, or approximately. Okay. What's that? When are you doing what test? Hold on. Okay, so again, just to review, on this one, you guys cross these two out. You'll just be finishing these two, number 2, 4, and then on the back page, you're going to do 776. Here, I drew the triangle out because that's basically what it'll look like after you've written it out. You just have to draw it and then now solve for the missing angle. And then here, you're doing law of cosines on just this one. It's asking which of the following can be solved by law of cosines. So it's this one because I need to have two sides and an angle in between. Whereas here, I don't have that. I don't have two sides on opposite sides of the angle. I only have an angle across from a side. Okay, which means I'm going to use law of sine. Same thing here. I've got angle across. Here, I could look for angle C because I have a side across from it. So both of these, I would basically use law of sine. But basically, this section, you only need to do this one, and then there's review down here.